सह गण ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितां नम ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले मते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिन्निति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगतपते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा. So welcome to the Tuesday and Thursday series on Vaishnav Ninda, a contemporary study. We have been discussing, especially related to Vaishnav Ninda, the pastimes from Chaitanya Bhagavat, and especially how these pastimes are relevant and what important lessons we can learn from these pastimes. So in the today's class, we saw Gaur and Nityanand visit to the Vamachari sannyasi. Very interesting pastime. How Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, although he was a debauchee, he was a grahastha, but yet he was in the robes of a saffron and he was attached to wine and women. But Mahaprabhu visited, and not only visited, gave darshan, he ate and he slept there. And ultimately, Mahaprabhu gives to mercy to such people, those who are weak, but nindak, those who are apradis, those who are envious, especially the Mayavadis, Mahaprabhu doesn't give his darshan or his mercy. And we saw that pastime how when he visited Kashi, he avoided the Ekadanda, the Mayavadi sannyasis, and he secretly left Kashi and they did not take the association of these Mayavadi sannyasis. Now, with respect to this, there is another pastime in this chapter 19 about Advaita Jai, the glorious pastimes in Advaita's house. How Advaita explains Jnana Yoga and Lord beats Advaita and reveals his own glories. And after hearing his explanation, what is Advaita Acharya's happiness and declaration? This declaration is going to be very important for us, the Siddhanta. And what are the examples of inauspicious results of worshipping demigods? And this is also very important Siddhanta, which we will try to discuss. And after Advaita Acharya declares all this, then the Lord's warning to everyone about blasphemy of Vaishnavas. So that is the last part which will come up. So it's a very interesting discussion. So let us go to Chaitanya Bhagavat. Chaitanya Bhagavat is filled with wonderful pastimes of the Lord. So let us. Okay, after this pastime, the acceptance of sannyas and study of Vedanta of one who has no attachment to the glorification of Gaur Chandra, who is constantly praised by Brahma, Shiva, Anant, and Kamal, and the mother of all, is useless. So, this is the conclusion. Now, from text 118 to 222 is the real pastime. The real pastime was, we know that in the beginning we discussed how Mahaprabhu is to give respect to all the Vaishnavas, especially Advaita Acharya, and he is to take the dust from his lotus feet, and Advaita not like, and that's why he schemed and he started preaching how Gyan is superior to Bhakti, started speaking from the Yoga Vishishta. And he knew the desire, Mahaprabhu knew the desire of Advaita Acharya, and he's on the way actually, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Nityananda Prabhu, on the way to Advaita Acharya's house. On that path, this pastime of the Vamacharya sannyasi happened. Now, what happens further after visiting the Vamacharya sannyasi and the lessons here? Vrindavan Das Thakur mentions, in this way, the two lords blissfully floated in the waves of the Ganges. So, like that, they further continued. Vishwarup roared loudly and explained, I am he, Muni se, bole bar bar. Repeatedly saying, I am he. Who is that he? I am the Supreme Lord, actually. Then he says, Nada disturbed my sleep and brought me here. And now he's covering the glories of devotional service by preaching Gyan. Mohara Anila, Nada Shayana Bhangya, Ekana Vakyana Gyana Bhakti Lukya. So this is how Mahaprabhu is speaking. See yourself how I will punish him today. Today we will see how he defends the process of Gyan. Tara Shashti Korenaji, Deka Parateke, Ke Mate Dekua, Aji Gyan Yoga Rakhe. How will he do the process of Gyan? So like that, in this mood, Mahaprabhu is now coming to the house of Advaita Acharya. As Mahaprabhu threatened and roared while floating in the current of Ganges, Nityanand remained silent. Mauna hoye Nityanand, mane hase. So in his mind, he was, nicely smiling and laughing. The two lords floated in the waves of Ganges like Mukund and Anant in the ocean of milk. So Anant is compared to Balram and Mukund is Krishna. By the influence of his devotional service, Advaita Prabhu was most powerful. Bhakti Yoga Prabhave Advaita Mahabal. He understood that his desire to be punished by the Lord would soon be fulfilled. So he understood in his heart that the Lord is going to punish me, and he was very happy about it. Advaita Prabhu realized that the Lord is coming in an angry mood, and he began to explain Gyan more enthusiastically. So he saw that the Lord is coming, so with more enthusiasm, he's speaking about Gyan. Who can understand the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya's devotees? In this way, the lords floated down the Ganges to Advaita's house. So they reached Advaita's house. Accompanied by Nityanand, the angry Vishwambar saw Advaita rocking back and forth in the happiness of Gyan. When Haridas and Achut, the son of Advaita, saw the Lord, they offered their obeisances. Achyuta is one of the sons of Advaita Acharya. The wives of Advaita offered their obeisances to the Lord within their minds. They were filled with anxiety on seeing the Lord's mood. So they became anxious seeing the Lord's mood. Vishwambar's bodily effulgence was like that of millions of suns. Everyone became frightened on seeing this. In an angry mood, the Lord said, Oh, tell me which is superior, Gyan or Bhakti? Krode mukhe bole Prabhu, are. Nada bole, deki Gyan Bhakti duite ki bada. Which is superior? So in anger he spoke, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Advaita replied, Gyan is always superior. Advaita boliye, Sarvakala bada Gyan. Yara nahi Gyan, tara bhakti te ki kam. What is the use of devotional service for one who does not have Gyan? So this was the reply. On hearing Advaita say that Gyan was superior, the son of Sachi lost his external consciousness out of anger. He dragged Advaita from his seat into the courtyard and began beating him with his own hands. Although she knew everything Advaita's chaste wife and the mother of the universe, tried to restrain the Lord. Spare his life, he's an old Brahmana. For whose benefit do you chastise him? This Brahmana is so old. What more will you do to him if something happens to him? Who will be responsible for the consequences? If you kill this old Brahmana, that it is impossible for you to become free from the offense. On hearing those words befitting a chaste wife, Nityanand smiled. So Nityanand was seeing and just smiling. Haridas Prabhu remembered Krishna in fear. Haridas' mood was different. He was remembering Krishna in fear. In his anger, the Lord did not hear those words befitting a chaste wife. He roared and threatened Advaita with proud words. I was sleeping in the ocean of milk when you, Nada, woke me to fulfill your mission. You brought me here to reveal the science of devotional service, but now you are covering devotional service with your explanation of Gyan. If your intention was to cover devotional service, then why did you have incarnate? I never frustrate your resolve, but you always deceive me. So there is a very rasika interaction happening between Mahaprabhu and Advaita Acharya. After releasing Advaita, the Lord sat down at the doorway and began to loudly reveal his glories. So this is what Advaita Acharya wanted, because Advaita Acharya knew that his Prabhu is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He is the Supreme Lord and I am his servant. And he wanted that the Lord reveal his glories, but the Lord had come in the mood of a devotee. So, but now here in this pastime, the Lord will reveal his glories. So here from this verse onwards, his glories are revealed. Oh Nada, it was I who killed Kamsa. You know everything, don't you? Ore Kamsa ye marila se muni. Ore Nada, sakala janis dekha tui. It was I who killed Kamsa. Then Brahma, Shiva, Shesh, and Lakshmi are all engaged in my service. The cunning impostor Vasudev was killed by my chakra. There was one Shrigal Vasudev who claimed that he is also Vasudev. There was Poundrak also who claimed himself as Vasudev, but there was Shrigal Vasudev also. And then Varanasi was completely burned by my chakra, and the mighty Ravan was killed by my arrow. So here it is I who is Lord Ram. Krishna is saying, my chakra cut off the arms of Banasur, and my chakra destroyed Narakasur. It destroyed Narakasur. So this is my glories. So here all the pastimes which the Lord performs in his avatars, he is narrating now. The Lord is narrating this pastimes. It was I who held up Govardhan hill with left hand, and it was I who brought the Parijat flower from heaven. I deceived Bali and then bestowed mercy on him. It was I who killed Hiranyakashipu to save Prahlad. So here is the Vaman avatar and the Narsimha avatar. In this way, the Lord revealed his opulence, and Advaita floated in the ocean of ecstatic love while listening. So now Advaita is happy because he has heard that my Lord is the Supreme Lord and he is Prabhu, I am his servant. So hearing this brought him a lot of pleasure. Advaita was filled with ecstasy after receiving his punishment. He clapped his hands and danced with humility. I have received proper punishment for my offense. O Lord, you are very kind and have actually given me only a token of punishment. Now I have realized your supremacy. You have suitably punished me for my fault. Now the relation between the Lord and his servant has been strengthened. So whenever the Lord punishes his servants under or shasti, it is unlimited mercy of the Lord. And by that punishment, the relation becomes strengthened. In fact, even among Vaishnavas, when there are differences, and there are sometimes some incidents by which there is difference between two Vaishnavas and there is a kind of a tension, you can say, between the Vaishnavas. It should be resolved in such a devotional way that their relationship should thicken. Actually, it should bond should become more stronger, and not that it should, widen. If it is widen, then it will become a course of it becomes a source of Vaishnava Parad. In fact, uh, criticism or being critical means the bank is widening, but our relationship, even if we have uh, some differences or some conflicts, it should be resolved in a devotional way, and it should relationship should strengthen and thicken and not widen. So now my relationship between the Lord and his servant is strengthened. Advaita danced in ecstasy throughout the courtyard. He frowned and spoke to the Lord as follows. So now, after hearing the Lord's glories, Advaita Acharya will speak. Now, from here onwards, it's interesting what Advaita Acharya is going to say. Where has your glorification of me now gone now? Where has all your deceitful behavior gone now? Now Advaita Acharya is telling, you have been glorifying me, no? Now where it is gone now? Because now the Lord is revealing his own glories. I am not Durvas Muni, who you insulted by smearing his remnants all over your body. So I am also not aware about exactly this pastime, but here it is mentioned. It is mentioned in the Puranas how the Lord smeared the remnants of Durvasa rice all over his body. I am not Bhrugumuni, whose food dust you happily accepted as on your chest as Srivatsa. I am not Bhrugumuni. My name is Advait. I am your unalloyed servant. My only wish is to honor your remnants birth after birth. By the influence of your remnants, I am unaffected by your illusionary energy. You have punished me. Now give me the shelter at your lotus feet. So here Bhakti Siddhanta Sarvesh Thakur quotes from the Uddhav Gita, where Uddhava speaks, Tava upbhokta shraga gandha vaso alankara charchita uchishta bhojaniyo dhasis tava mayam jayemahi. Simply by decorating ourselves with your garlands. Tava upbhukta shrag. Shrag means garland. Gandha, fragrance oils. Vasa, alankara, clothes and ornaments that you have already enjoyed, and eating remnants of your meals. Uchishta bhojanyu dasasya. We servants will indeed conquer your illusory energy. So tava mayam jayema he. We can conquer Maya just by having these remnants of the Lord. So that is how powerful or potent are the remnants of the Lord. After saying this, the Lord of Shantipur devotedly fell down and placed his head at the Lord's lotus feet. Now, here is a very interesting pastime we should realize that the manifestations of the Lord in the form of avatars, which is Mahavishnu, Shirodakshai Vishnu, Karandakshay Vishnu, all these are also the servants of the Lord. And although they are Ishwars, but they take higher pleasure and rasa in identifying themselves as the servant of Krishna. Ekala Krishna Arasabha Bhrit. Even Mahesh also, Mahadev also, beginning from the demigods, the chief of the demigods, you can say Mahadev, all are the servants of the Lord. In fact, all other avatars also are the servant of Avatari Krishna, and they take more pleasure in identify themselves as servants, and they get higher rasa, and to loot that rasa, the two incarnations, Vishnu Tattvas, Nityananda and Advaita, had come here. After saying this, the Lord of Shantipur devotedly fell down and placed his head at his lotus feet. Vishwambar respectfully picked Advaita up and cried profusely as he embraced him. On seeing Advaita's devotion, Nityanand Prabhu cried so profusely that it appeared as if a river was flowing from his eyes. Haridas Prabhu fell to the ground and cried. The wife of Advaita and all their servants began to cry. Now, we cannot imagine these spiritual emotions, what is happening there in this pastimes. We can just read it, but these are the actual scenes which were happening there when these pastimes were happening. Achyutanand, the son of Advaita, also cried. Advaita's entire house became filled with ecstatic love for Krishna. Vishwambar felt embarrassed for having beaten Advaita. So he happily awarded Advaita a benediction. So what was the benediction? I will bestow mercy to any living entity, even an ant, insect, animal, or bird, who takes shelter of you for even a moment. Mark this, even a moment. Even if that living entity commits hundreds of offenses against me. So here is a very important point, that this has been emphatically declared also in Narottam Das Thakur's one bhajan. He says, Haristane aparadha Tara Harina Tomar Stana Parada Nahi Paritra. Haristane Aparad. If you do aparad to Hari, then that's okay. But Tomarastana, but if you do an aparad to a Vaishnava, Nahi Paritran, there is no other course. So one can commit hundreds of offenses to the Lord. The Lord will, because everyone is his children, he will not take offense. But if you commit an offense to a Vaishnava, then the Lord doesn't tolerate. On hearing the benediction, Advaita Mahashay began to cry. He caught hold of the Lord's feet and humbly spoke as follows. Now, hearing this benediction, what Advaita Acharya declares is very, very interesting for us to know. O Lord, whatever you spoke can never prove false, but please listen my declaration. So Advaita's declaration is very, very important. If one worships me but does not accept you, then may his devotion to me annihilate him. So here is a very, very important siddhanta for us to understand, that if one worships Advaita Acharya, but he doesn't accept Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, then that devotion what he has for Advaita Acharya will annihilate him. So Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur says, Advaita said, O Lord Vishwambar, may the devotion of my descendants and so-called disciples who give up your service and eagerly engage in my service destroy them. This is my declaration. Since the ignorant descendants and the foolish disciples of Advaita do not consider Sri Advaita Prabhu as an eternal servant of Sri Chaitanya Dev, but consider him Vishnu and consider Gaur Sundar as Lakshmi, they fall from the path of devotional service and bring about their own ruination. So here, if we are aware about the history, that Advaita Acharya's, many of his sons, descendants, I think there were 6 sons, 3 were loyal to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, but 3 deviated. And they came up with a concocted Mayavadi philosophy. This is not the real Shankaracharya Mayavadi philosophy. Here we can see one concocted Mayavadi philosophy where they considered Advaita Acharya as Vishnu and Gaur Sundar as Lakshmi. So this kind of a concocted understanding destroyed them. Another understanding or philosophy deviation was that since Advaita Acharya's call, by our father's call, Mahaprabhu descended, so Advaita Acharya is superior to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So they don't accept Advaita Acharya as the servant of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So like that, Advaita Acharya sense became useless and they deviated from the parampara. So this is what Advaita Acharya declares here in this pastime, and later on it actually happens. One who does not worship your lotus feet and accept you as the supreme is not dear to me. He is not dear to me. Anyone who worships you is my life and soul. I cannot tolerate a person who disregards you. So here, another important Siddhanta is here. Since Mahaprabhu assumed the mood of a devotee, the foolish followers of Advaita accepted Vishwambar as an Ashray Vigraha worshipper rather than the Vishaya Vigraha object of worship. This is again deviation. So they accept Advaita Vishwambar as Ashray Vigraha and not as a Vishaya Vigraha. I cannot look at the face of a Vaishnava Aparadhi even if he happens to be my son or servant. So here, see how Advaita Acharya's firm resolution and devotion to the Lord is. When 3 of Advaita's sons and few of his so-called disciples became offensive towards Chaitanya Dev and his pure devotees, the Prabhu severed all ties and affection. This is understood from Advaita's statement. From the time of his presence up to today, his forsaken sons and disciples of his descendants have no connection whatsoever with Advaita or Shri Chaitanya. They glorify their non-devotional credentials even today. So a deviate sampradaya started from there, from the sons of Advaita Acharya. Advaita Acharya is now only declaring it. If one transgresses you and worships millions of demigods, those demigods will kill him on some pretext. Now here, after speaking about the deviation with respect to the Siddhanta, not accepting Advaita's servant and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as the Lord and not worshipping him, now he comes to the demigod worship. The demigod worship part. If anyone worships the demigod, those demigods will kill him on some pretext. So this is what Advaita Acharya is saying. Now here is a very important principle which I would like to discuss before we go into the pastime. The Vedas ultimately are not polytheistic, they are monotheistic. They ultimately indicate that there is one absolute truth. But the Vedas also have given the system of demigod worship. And this is the compassion of the Vedas and also the compassion of the Lord. Because the Lord wants every jiva somehow to connect to him by following the Vedas. At least he comes in the house of the Vedas first, and then slowly he can progress. But if one sticks to demigod worship, the demigods are all in all, then he still is trapped in the cycle of birth and death. And that is why ultimately by demigod worship, one should come to Vishnu worship. So that is the purpose of the Vedas. And that is why demigod worship is good or bad. It is good for those who are not in the fold of the Vedas. To come in the fold of the Vedas, it is good. But it is bad for those who don't know the ultimate purpose of the Vedas. Vedeshu sarver aham eva vedyo vedanta krit ved videha chaham. So for them, it is not good. Just like you can imagine, 2 sons come to the father, and one of the sons comes and tells, Father, I have passed the exams. How much percentage you got? I got 50%. Then, shabash, my son, very good, very good. I'm very proud of you. The father congratulates the son. Then the next son comes. He also tells, Father, I have passed the exams. How much percentage you have got? I've got 85%. And the father slaps him. What? 85%? Why have you performed so bad? So the son is bewildered. For the other son, 50%, and the father patted him. I got 85%, but I'm, punished. So for the first child who scored 50%, he was failing in the exams. And now somehow he has passed with 50%. So that is elevation from him. But for the second one, who is to always score first rank, 95%, 97%, he has now scored 85%. So he has come down in one sense. So that is why the father reprimands. Similarly, for those who are not in the Vedic fold, the compassionate Vedas allow, that is how Krishna love for the jivas, whose compassionate nature brings forth. Krishna is non-envious nature. That you don't want to directly connect with me, although you're my part and parcel. Okay, you have particular desires, you can worship my minister, because ultimately the minister, the demigods are also part and parcels of the Lord. Slowly that envy towards the Lord will reduce, and then he'll slowly understand that even the minister is also the servant of the Lord, and ultimately the worship of the Lord. So that is why demigod worship is good for those who are entering the house of the Vedas. But those who are, ultimately one should not get stuck in demigod worship. So that is why here, bhakti is the highest to the supreme. And if worship of demigods, somebody worships the demigods, then the demigods will kill them on some pretext. These are not simply my words, they are the words of the Vedas. The killing of Sudakshina is the evidence of this. So now, Advaita Acharya gives many references from the Puranas of how the demigods killed their devoted servants, devoted worshippers. Sudakshina was a son of the king of Kashi. He worshipped Lord Shiva with full attention. In great satisfaction, Shiva told him, ask for a benediction. You will achieve your goal by performing the Abhicharya Yaga. So Shiva said, give me, ask for a benediction. And Abhicharya Yaga is from the Atharvedas for killing and torturing. But if you insult a devotee of Vishnu, I will kill you in the course of your sacrifice. So this is what Shiva told. Without understanding the true intention of Vishnu, Shiva's words, Sudakshina performed the Abhicharya Yag on the order of Shiva. A formidable demon with 3 hands, 3 legs, and 3 heads appeared from the sacrificial fire. The demon with legs as long as palm trees said, ask for a benediction. The king replied, O fortunate one, burn Dwarka to ashes. So this was his intention, burn Dwarka to ashes. So he wanted to destroy the Lord and his devotees. On hearing this order, the great demon, who was the creation of Shiva, became distressed. He realized that the king's desire could not be fulfilled. The demon was obliged to go to Dwarka. Yet as soon as he arrived there, he was chased by Sudarshan, the protector of Dwarka. Thinking that he would not be spared by Sudarshan if he tried to run away, the great creation of Shiva fell at Sudarshan's feet and spoke as follows. Durvasa was unable to escape from you, and Brahma and Shiva are unable to protect him. Therefore, Prabhu, how can I escape from you, who are endowed with the prowess of a great Vaishnava? So this is how the demon surrenders to Sudarshan. All glories to my master, who is named Sudarshan. You are as powerful as Lord Shiva. All glories to the abode of Lord Krishna. All glories to Sudarshan Chakra, the best of the Vaishnavas. All glories to the destroyer of miscreants and the protector of pious. Sudarshan heard this prayer with satisfaction, and then he instructed him to burn the king's son. That terrifying creature then returned to Kashi and burned the prince to ashes. So Sudakshina was killed by one sense, Shiva only. He transgressed you, O Lord, and worshipped Shiva. Therefore, he was killed in the course of his sacrifice. That is why I declare that I will burn to ashes anyone who transgresses you and serves me. What a heavy, heavy declaration Advaita Acharya is making. So, exclusive worship of Vishnu is what is here being declared. And devotees should have that kind of firm resolve. And many times devotees, when they are in trouble, or when, when they especially see the charts and they see that, oh, there are so many problems, there is some Navadosh, Navagraha dosh, and they might go and worship the demigods and do some yagyas to appease them. But one should have firm faith that if one is worshiping Krishna, the demigods are the servants of Krishna, and automatically they are satisfied. One need not worship anyone else. So this is a very important declaration. You are the Lord of my life, and you are my wealth. You are my father and mother. You are my friend. How Advaita Acharya says, one who transgresses you and offers me obeisances is cutting off the head of my worshipable Lord and trying to remedy a situation. So this is how heavy Advaita Acharya makes the statement. Being pleased by the devotion of King Satyajit, the sun god directly appeared before him. Satyajit pastime is there in the Srimad Bhagavatam, the Dwarka pastimes, it is there. Satyajit was along with Lord Krishna in Dwarka, but somehow he wanted to become more glorious than Krishna, and he worshipped the sun god. Sun god appeared and he gave him this Samantak jewel. And because of that, what happened? Because he worshipped the sun god, yet because of the offenses of transgressing your order, he and his brother were killed. The sun god saw this with satisfaction. So he worshipped the sun god, and he and his brother both were killed because of this Samantak jewel episode. Although Duryodhana was the disciple of Baldev, he and his family members were killed because he disregarded you. Third example he is giving. Hiranyakashipu received benediction from Brahma, yet he and his family members were killed when he disregarded you. Ten-headed Ravana, who took pleasure in cutting others' heads, Shiva, yet he was nevertheless killed along with his family members when he disregarded you. So the fourth example is of, fifth example is of Lord Ravana, killed by Lord Ram. You are the origin of all demigods and the control of every one. All living entities, seen and unseen, are your servants. Drishya drishyata tumara kinkar. O Lord, if one disregards you and devotedly makes offerings to your servant, that servant accepts the offering and kills that worshipper. Servant means here the demigods. So very, very clear, emphatic declaration. Makes. Worshipping the demigods headed by Shiva while disregarding you is like watering the leaves of a tree after cutting its root. This is a very, very interesting explanation. After cutting the root of the tree, then you start watering the leaves. You are the root of the Vedas, Brahmanas, sacrifices, and religious principles. I do not accept the worship of one who does not worship you. When Satchidanand heard his explanation of the absolute truth, he roared loudly and spoke. Now here is the instructions on very important instructions. Advaita Acharya is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is going to make now. Everyone listen to my words. Now here is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Mora ei satya sab shuno mana dai. Any fallen soul who disrespects my servant and worships me, cuts me into pieces. Amara puja mora sevak langiya se adam jane mora khand khand kare. Tara puja mora gaye agni hena pode. Heavy statement of Mahaprabhu. If Any fallen soul disrespects my servant. That means commits Vaishnava Aparadh, but worships me, is actually cutting me into pieces. And his worship feels like fire on my body. So this is how the Lord relates to his servants. There is a achintya beda beda between the Lord and his devotees. They are simultaneously one and different. So this is how the Lord considers his servants. Here, this is Architva tu Govindam Tadiyanam na archayetu Yagna sa Bhagavato Geya Kevalam Dambika Sprita. So here is a quote from the scriptures. I think this is a reference is not given. One who worships Lord Govinda, Architva tu Govinda, but fails to worship his devotees, Tadiyan na archayetu, should be understood not to be a devotee of the Lord. Yagna na Yagnasa Bhagavato Geya, but simply a victim of false pride. So in that sense, worship of the devotee is more important than the worship of the Lord. This point is very, very emphatically thought out by the Lord. Now, Hey Amar Dasara Sakrit Ninda Kare Mora Nama Kalpataru Samhara Tahare. My wish fulfilling holy names, destroy one who blasphemes my servant. So here again, Mahaprabhu is making it very clear. Ye Amara Dasrit Sakrit Ninda Kare. One does Ninda of my servant, then Mora Nama Kalpataru, the Harinam is like a Kalparu, Samaratare. Samar means it will destroy. Anant Brahmandeyata Saba Muradas Eteke Epare Himsa Seyayash. All the living entities in the innumerable universes are my servants. So anyone who blasphemes any living entity is ruined. So we should not blaspheme or criticize any living entity, in fact, for that matter, what to speak of Vaishnavas. Now, here in the purport is a very interesting explanation. Now, kindly mark these points. If a person exhibits envy of another person, then that envious person confirms that he is malicious of those who are inclined to the Lord's service rather than confirming himself as a Vaishnava. Whatever envy is exhibited in such considerations is more or less envy of the Supreme Lord. So here is an important principle. Whatever envy is exhibited in such considerations is more or less envy to the Supreme Lord. So when we envy the devotees of the Lord, it is actually a manifestation of the envy towards the Lord himself. So this is how serious it is. Text 211. You are more important than my body. So if anyone transgresses you, he will be unable to tolerate his fate. Now, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was still severe. If even a sannyasi blasphemes an innocent person, he goes to hell and all his religious principles are destroyed. Sannyasi yo yadi anindaka ninda kare adapateya sarva dharma guchitare. Bahutulya jagatera bale gauradam anindaka hoy sabai bala Krishna. Raising his arms, Lord Gauranga declared to the world, avoid offenses and chant the name of Krishna. So this is a declaration which Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is saying, avoid criticizing Vaishnavas or Ninda. Now here is a definition of Ninda. We have been studying about Vaishnava Ninda quite a lot. To attribute faults when faults are not present is called Ninda or blasphemy. It is most necessary to remain aloof from blasphemy while chanting the names of Krishna. Persons who are free from blasphemy are the best. One who is devoid of desires to enjoy the fruits of his karma is called sannyasi. This is the definition of sannyasi. This is also given in the Bhagavad Gita 18.2. Kamyanam karmanam nyasam sannyasa kavayo vidu. Kamyanam karmanam nyasa. Kamya means desires, and based on the desires, you do actions. So kamyanam karmanam nyasa. Nyasa means there is no desire like that. He is a nyas or sannyasi. Nyas is the original term. Sannyasi means sun is prefix. Samyak rupena nyas, one who is perfectly renounced. If such a sannyasi who is free from blasphemy happens to blaspheme a Vaishnava, then all his principles of renunciation and abstinence from talking about others are destroyed and he falls down. So this is the gravity of a Vaishnava aparadh. If one who is free from blasphemy chants the name of Krishna even once, I will certainly deliver him. Now here, aninda kahoy, ye sakrit Krishna bole, satya satya muni tara uddharive ele. Now here is another assurance of Mahaprabhu towards the blasphemers. Anyone who chants the names of Krishna while remaining aloof from attributing false faults in the course of talking about others becomes free from the bondage of material existence. Blaspheming the devotees of Krishna earns one the qualification to enjoy the threefold miseries of material existence. So if we blaspheme, then we are caught in Triveda Tap. When a living entity becomes free from blasphemy of Vaishnavas, he attains liberation. The three classes of materialistic people, Mayavadis, Karmis, and gross materialists, are blasphemers of Vaishnava. It is impossible for them to chant the names of Krishna. When Mahaprabhu spoke these words, all the devotees said, Jai, Jai. Advaita cried and grabbed the Lord's two lotus. The Lord also began to cry as he embraced Advaita. The entire world floated in Advaita's ecstatic love. Such are the inconceivable topics of Advaita. Who has the power to understand Advaita's words? One should know that there is no difference between him and the Supreme Lord. If one understands the superficial quarrels between Nityananda and Advaita, he will attain supreme happiness. The words and activities of Vishnu and Vaishnavas are incomprehensible. Only by their mercy one can understand them. Heimata yatara hoya katana Nityananda Advaita Prabhu Arayata Gana Iha Bhujibara Shakti Prabhu Balaram Sahasravadhane Gaye Ei Gunagram. Only Lord Balaram has the power to understand the pastimes that took place between Nityananda and Advaita and their associates. In his form as Ananta, he sings their glories with 1,000 mouths. Most important part was Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's declaration about how he will deliver those who don't blaspheme Vaishnavas or find fault with Vaishnavas or attribute faults to Vaishnavas, and what is Mahaprabhu's glory that even if once he chants the name of Krishna, I will deliver. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's heavy statements of how one blasphemes, then the holy name will not give the mercy, which is like a kalpa taru. Further, in the last part of this text, after this pastime is over, then all the three Prabhus, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Nityananda Prabhu, Advaita Acharya, go to the Ganges to path, and Advaita Acharya request Sita Thakurani to please make an offering for Krishna. And after the offering, we'll have prasadam. So the three lords took their bath along with Haridas Thakur. They came inside and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu offered his obeisances to Krishna, deity. And then all three lords sat to have hot rice and ghee. And while having this prasadam, Nityanand Prabhu was in his childish nature. Initially, Mahaprabhu asked, Vishwambara asked, was I too heavy with Advaita? No, 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 my lord, he says. And then Nityanand Prabhu starts throwing the rice in all directions. Oh, who is this crazy man who has come? I don't know his caste. I don't know from where he is born also. So like that, Advaita Acharya starts, criticizing Nityanand Prabhu. But actually, these are loving fights which are happening between Advaita Acharya and Nityananda. And everyone in the house of Advaita Acharya, they burst into laughter hearing these wonderful loving fights happening between Advaita Acharya and Nityananda Prabhu. And all the lords honor the prasadam there. And then Nityanand Prabhu and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu spent many days in the house of Advaita Acharya. And then again, crossing the Ganga, they went back to Navdvip. And there all the devotees were feeling separation from Vishwambar. So they were waiting for Vishwambar to come back. And then they saw back, their life came back. And that is how Krishnadas, Vrindavan Das Thakur ends the pastime, and he says that anyone who hears the pastimes that took place in the Advaita, house of Advaita will join such pastimes. So this pastime is a very important lesson for us, that how much we should carefully avoid offenses or criticizing Vaishnavas or finding faults with Vaishnavas. So, and what is the declaration of Mahaprabhu? Now, this tendency to find fault is there in the mind. And although verbally we might not speak about the faults of others, but the tendency is there in the mind. And even if we mentally, what to speak of verbally and then physically, even if we mentally find faults with Vaishnavas, it is a aparad at a certain level, and it has its effect and reaction. So in Kali Yuga, if one thinks of doing a sinful activity, then he's not implicated. In the other ages, he would get implicated in that. And on the other hand, if one desires to do unlimited pious activity, like Vasudev in his mind gave thousands of cows as charity to Brahmanas when Krishna was born. So even if one mentally contemplates like this, he can reap, not only he'll reap the pious activities of it, and he'll not perform that activity and he'll get the pious activities. But in Kali Yuga, we are so conditioned, although we know this glory, we mentally also don't perform, charitable activities. Now in the mind, you can think, what's wrong? Just think that every day morning I get up and donate 1 lakh cows. You get the punya of credit of doing this charitable activity. To Vaishnavas, of course, to Vishnu temples, because it becomes directly bhakti activity. But you get the benefit. But if you think of sin, you will not get implicated. But with respect to aparad, even if you mentally think, you will get reaction for it. So that is important for us to understand. So this ends chapter 19 discussion. We had the discussion of these two pastimes. Now, in the next class, we will be discussing the most important pastime, that is the pastime of Jagai and Madai, and the consequences of Vaishnava Aparad. There are some very important instructions are there, so that we will be taking up in the next class. Any questions, any clarification? Anyone has can raise their hands. Anyone has any questions or clarifications? Okay then, so we will stop here. We just had a 1 hour class today because I just want to finish this pastime, and then the next class discuss the Jagai Madai pastime. So that we will take up on next Tuesday. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur ki jai. Shri Chaitanya Bhagavat ki jai. Hare Krishna.